Award-winning playwright Katori Hall has been working towards creating more roles for black actresses since she started in the business. Her latest project, The Blood Quilt, is a drama about four sisters struggling with honoring their deceased mother with a quilt. We have a clip.
Need a love, need it down. Need a love, need a love, need it down. Bury your knot, lady, bury your soul. Rock that needle, girl, thread your gold.
Forget your worry, forget your pain.
What?
Bring it to the frame, girl.
Put it in the cloth, need a love, need it down. Need a love, need a love, need it down. Bury your knot, lady, bury your soul. Rock that needle, girl, thread your gold. Need a love, need it down. Need a love, need a love, need it down.
Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
So what I'm loving is in so many narratives these days, we've got nouveau black women engaged in this super nouveau, transitional, multi-polyethnic kind of realities. And what you've done here is kind of take nouveau, new millennium women and merge them in this traditional kind of story. Why was that important for you?
Because we are past and we are present, and the past is always present in us. You know, I'm a young woman from the South, and I always felt like my Southernism, you know, sometimes clashes with my being a contemporary woman. There's this kind of nostalgia that we're kind of like carrying with us. But I feel as though those two things can exist and coexist in one body as it does, you know, within me as an individual. So it's funny because me and my director, Camila Forbes, were always saying that The Blood Quilt is like a kind of neo folk tale where you have these women who they know who they descend from. They know like the first slave on the ship that they descend from, and that they have pieces of her inside of their souls, but yet they are living in a contemporary world with contemporary problems, and how that has given them strength. But it's like new world problems. You have to come to the world with new solutions.
Well, and why the stage? Because there's a lot of, we know this isn't a news story.
No, it's not necessarily a news story, but in terms of why the stage, you know, I look at the stage as a mirror, and I feel as though in the American theater, I want to exist. I want to see myself in the mirror that is the American stage. And so that's, you know, that's my love. That's where, you know, my craft is focused on. And so I feel as though, even though sometimes I feel like the theater does not necessarily bring our audiences inside, I think if we put more stuff on the stage that is about, you know, us, about women specifically, you know, the audiences are out there. I mean, Tyler Perry has proven it over and over again that we're there, we want to see our stories, and we should be on the stage.
So what about this story really connects with folks? If I'm sitting watching now and I'm still not grasping, what is The Blood Quilt?
So The Blood Quilt is about these four sisters who get together every year to do a quilting bee, and it's the first time that they're doing it without their mother because she just passed. And it's interesting because that quilting bee ends up becoming a reading of the will, and they deal with a very troubling inheritance on a lot of different issues in terms of what they're going to do with the land, who got what, and why they got what. And so, you know, I just feel as though this story speaks to the African American community when it comes to what we have inherited in terms of scars, emotional scars, stories that weren't told to us that we're finding out, secrets that, you know, people carry with them and that we still carry with us, and it affects our daily lives. And so you see these sisters dealing with all that stuff that mama left behind, her wrong mistakes and her right mistakes too. And I just feel as though a healing ends up happening in the theater. It almost becomes a church. People they feel like they're testifying. There's a lot of preach and make it plain and go on, girl, that's happening in the theater, and it's beautiful because it's a community that feels as though they're being reflected, and it's just wondrous to be in the theater.
But there's also an interesting story of legacy, right? And so often when people in our community pass, they don't leave anything but bills.
Yeah.
And so this story really kind of encapsulates all of what we're leaving generation to generation, and how generations are forced to kind of manage that. But I think it sends an interesting message about what are we as people, no matter how much we have, doing to ensure that the next generation is left with something.
Yeah. One of the sisters, she asked another sister, like, do you want your daughter to inherit poverty or possibility? And I just feel as though that's a question that we're constantly asking ourselves, as you're right. Sometimes we don't have things to leave behind, that the idea of accumulation of wealth, you know, sometimes we're starting from, you know, 0 or sometimes -50, you know, every time someone.
Especially when you look at the average net worth of black women.
Absolutely. And so for these women, you know, you see that argument between the sisters of like, what if we got together and sold this in order to keep this? And it's just, it brings up a lot of personal issues, but the personal is political. And so that idea of how do we amass wealth and how do we keep our land? That's something that 40 acres and a mule, this is a question that we're trying to deal with, but on a personal level within the play.
So as a brother who's sitting back saying,
oh, you're going to enjoy yourself. Don't say that.
No, I wasn't going to say, let me ask the question first, sis. Dang, you coming at me hard. So often these women's stories aren't even necessarily always men bashing, but just men irrelevant. Where do men find themselves in this story? And how can we use this as yet a further way of having conversation about the relationships between black men and women?
That's a wonderful question. I'm so glad you asked me that question. Thank you so much. They're everywhere. They're everywhere in the story because from the jump, you know, you have these women talking about the pieces that they have that have been woven into the quilts. Their great Uncle Charles, you know, my husband Red, my boyfriend this, like all these.
And a lot of the relationships are healthy.
The relationships are complicated, but there are healthy relationships within the play that are out there. And it's so funny that you say that because I really wanted to balance that. I wanted to show that, you know, even though people make mistakes and people, you know, run into complications, you can make it through. You can move past. You can come together, and that's.
Where can people find out about how to see the play? Oh,
so you can go to www.arenastage.org to buy tickets. You can also go to katorihall.com, and you can definitely get your tickets via online.
Fantastic. I'm coming.
Okay, good. Right. Good.